Morning folks, Kevin here. Well, it's Thursday, June 14th, 2018. Apologize for the poor lighting right now. I'm standing basically just in the edge of the workshop area. The last couple days, some things came up. One, I had to work on the wiring of the trailer. I apologize if the wind is tough here. We got sustained winds of 20 to about 20 miles per hour and gusts 45, 50 miles per hour right now. So I don't know how much footage I'm going to be able to shoot with the camera today. However, day before yesterday, I planned on shooting a video. Got caught up getting the dump trailer ready. Still isn't completely ready yet. I had to order some parts after going through the whole wiring system on the trailer to get the brakes working, which is essential. Then yesterday we had rain intermittent throughout the day yesterday, so I didn't record getting some of the drip irrigation stuff set up, but I will be recording an entire video on how I set up our drip irrigation system. And so today I'm going to be working in the central garden. I'm going to be using the weed mats in the central garden, at least on 3 of the beds, in a different way than what you've seen me set up the weed mats in the past. So with the weed mats that you've seen, you see I lay down the weed mat over the bed, and then I go ahead and I burn the holes, or I've already burnt the holes for the appropriate row spacing and spacing between each individual plant. Then go ahead and set the drip tape underneath it, put the transplants in and all. Well, one problem with plants that have, like tomato plants, sometimes I'll be pulling off all the lower limbs and really burying those plants really deep into the beds, and therefore that's more of a difficult situation when we have these small 2-inch or 3-inch holes in the weed mats. So I'm going to be using a technique that I started using last year with the melons over behind the rain gutter garden. And that is, I'm not going to be burning holes in some of the weed mats. I'm going to be using wide weed mats, and I'm going to have the edge of the weed mats meeting at the central point of the garden. So this is only going to work well for single row items like peppers and tomatoes. It could be squash plants, anything that you're not putting multiple rows on a single bed. So I'm going to try that. That means that the weed mat will also cover some of the path as well. So another thing recently, I don't know which day it was, but when I was working in the central garden, I ran the tilther over it, showing how I use that after building up the new compost on those beds. What I'm going to do today is some of the clumpy material fell off into the rows, and I'm going to go down with a tamper, a hand tamper, tamp out those clumpy materials. Then I'm going to go ahead and run the stirrup hoe to take care of all the weed seedlings that have gone in there. Run a string line down the center of the bed so that I have the appropriate line, and use a tape measure, get some of the plants transplanted in those areas. So that's my plan anyways, and we'll see what I can record. I'm going to try and stabilize the cameras. I'm going to try to use the GoPro out there as long as it's not raining. This camera, I'm too nervous about it falling over and getting damaged. It's an expensive camera, so we'll see what we can do as far as stabilizing the GoPro and capturing some footage of how I'm going to do this process. So here we go. Okay, I'm back. I decided to get the tilther out to work in the path of the garden and the paths within the central garden between the permanent raised beds. Now, these paths have been made out of wood chips predominantly. Over the last 2 years ago, I started building this bed. In the paths on the closest to the building are hay mixed in with the wood chips as well. So that's broken down much more, so it's just like beautiful soil right now. I was going to use my tamper, which is used for tamping the ground before putting in a driveway or pavers or concrete and all, to compact the soil, because there's lots of clumps of compost that was in the compost pile that I did last season that sort of rolled off the pile. I apologize for the winds. I'm just trying to get it so you can actually see me here outside of the building. So I decided ultimately to use the garden tilther. So I'm strapping on the GoPro camera here on my chest so you can see how I'm doing this. Because it's so windy, I won't spend a lot of time explaining everything. Well, hey folks, it's just about 6 p.m. and I'm just wrapping things up around here. Well, I got the center garden, the first, at least the single rows going in. There may be some more planted over in the far row, but today I've got banana red peppers in the first row there. Then I got a canning tomato, San Moranzo, I think it's something like that. That's terrible. Probably you all know the name of the proper name of it. Then we got some bell peppers, some what are these tomatoes here? I've got several different heirloom varieties of tomatoes going down in this row, and a few cherry tomatoes at the very end of it. Next row is curly kale, then red Russian kale, and some jalapeno peppers, and then some eggplant and one purple pepper. The birds really went to town on all our seedlings over there, so that's the main part of it. Now I still have two more areas that I'm going to have to get seeded. The voles have created a little bit of a havoc over in the west bed, which I'll show after we see the rest of the corn emerging. But you can see the little vole tracks just underneath the soil, the mounds that they make as well. I also got the part in to repair the dump trailer. So the dump trailer back there's, I think it's ready to go. So I've got to message them at Purpose Farm and see when would be good for them, and if the rain holds off, and I think we've got a couple days before rain's coming. I'm going to have to check the weather. But maybe tomorrow I'll go in and get some of the manure and start hauling it back. I know there'll be quite a bit. There'll probably be a couple of days worth of hauling. And then one of the things I will do for Tim from Tim's Homestead, he was really interested in finding out more about the drip irrigation. And I'll go over this system when I install this system. I've got the main feeding systems hooked up at this time, but I'll review that as well. So that's it for today. I hope this was of some interest or value, and you could see the way that I actually use the tilther for breaking up the chunks of the compost and making the path much more safe to walk on, flat and even, and wide enough for us to work in to do the harvesting, do the weeding, and be able to bring a basket with us to put the products in as we're going through. These are all things over time we're learning that it's just much more advantageous for us so that we can have a much more pleasant time when we're in the garden. And that's really important, enjoying the time that you're spending in the gardens. So anyways, if this value was of interest to you or you learned something, please give it a thumbs up. Let us know that you like it. Feel free to ask questions, leave comments, and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we post another video. And by all means, folks, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye now.